I'm Pamela Fish along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Fond du Lac Tribal Chair Karen Diver joins us after spending the past few days at the White House Tribal Nations Conference. Now, among the highlights, Diver introduced the president for his remarks to the tribes.
Against almost impossible odds, a Renshaw company has made the final four for a Super Bowl ad. Tonight, we'll meet the head clucker and the marketing chick from the locally laid egg company.
And in our news file story from 25 years ago, a former Duluth mayor is found innocent of charges brought against him.
Those stories in the business news coming right up on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Danny, good to be back with you again this week.
Well, that's 2 weeks in a row for you. Welcome back. Nice to have you again, Pam.
Thanks.
All right.
Well, we've got some really interesting guests and topics, so we're going to get started right away.
All right, Pam, thank you very much and welcome everyone. Leaders from all 566 recognized United States Native American tribes were invited to this week's White House Tribal Nations Conference. Now, the conference is an opportunity for the tribes to meet with administration officials to talk about many issues affecting Native people. One of those attending was Karen Diver, chair of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa. Karen, welcome back to this program. I know you've been here before. You've been to this conference, the White House conference, in past years too, but this time you had a little special thing to do.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, this was the 5th annual Tribal Nations Conference hosted by the White House, and this year I got a call from the White House asking if I would be willing to introduce President Barack Obama before he made his comments to the tribes that were present.
What was that like?
Nerve-wracking. It was fun. We had a little bit of time backstage. Some of the Navajo co-talkers were there, Nota Begay, the golfer, and they were having some photo opportunities, so got to chat with them for a minute and went on stage and introduced them, and it was one of the most special moments I've had the opportunity to have. So
I can imagine. And some pretty hot topics this year at the conference, is that correct?
Sequestration is a big one affecting tribes. The cuts have been fairly deep. Everybody hears 5% across the board, but you know, that's subject to some discretion within the agencies, and some tribes are saying they've been anywhere from 5% up to 8%, but it's been cumulative for the last 2 years. So it's affecting some of the communities very rough, and they've had cuts to school aid, transportation for kids, police departments, a whole range, the whole breadth of tribal government.
Did the president address that directly? Did he say, have something to say about it that was hopeful?
Both he and his 13 cabinet members that were in attendance all talked at some level about sequestration. You know, the difficulty is it's not the administration that makes the budget. It's, you know, a deal made between the Senate and the House. So the House has been particularly difficult and tough on sequestration and the budget. So while we appreciate his support and his support of tribes and their programming that's so necessary, really it's up to our other elected leaders to get the deal done.
Karen, what are some other issues that are facing Native American communities across this country, and specifically maybe Fond du Lac?
We're trying very hard to really look at climate change activities, natural resource activities. we've pretty much come to the foregone conclusion that the climate is changing and it is affecting the health of our natural environment and our resources. That's been a real key for us. And also diversifying our economies so that we're not dependent on grant sources, we're not dependent on sole industries to support what we have going on.
You've also been named to a federal task force on responses to extreme weather situations. What's that all about?
The president has a whole climate change initiative that involves his cabinet, all of the departments that would have some key role in it. And he really wanted to reach out to state, local, and tribal officials to see how the federal processes are working. Where are the gaps? Where is funding needed? Where does there need to be more coordination? It's called the Task Force on Climate Preparedness and Resilience. So for a few ideas, I think you saw one of them in the paper this week when the South St. Louis Soil and Conservation District is recommending a zone tree that's warmer than our climate has normally been. Well, that's to prepare for natural deforestation due to climate changes. The birch are stressed and some of the zone 3 trees. So how do we prepare? Because when you look at flooding events, when we had the flood of a lifetime.
And you got hit hard.
We got hit very hard. A quarter of our housing stock. We just opened up a bridge today. We've never needed to have a bridge, but the water damage was so extensive on our roads that culverts weren't going to cut it if another event like that occurred again. So we built that road to withstand another event like we had last year. Put the money in now so you're not dealing with the same devastation again later. And so looking at forestry activities, how do we protect our housing stock? How do we build our infrastructure differently? Those are all things that Fond du Lac is talking about to prepare for climate change. And I'm really interested in hearing from other local jurisdictions, not just tribes. I'm the only Minnesotan on this committee, so I take this charge quite seriously. The rain didn't stop or start at Fond du Lac's borders. It affected the whole region. So if people have something to say about how we can partner with the federal government, I'd really like to hear about it.
So how far is your reach on this task force? And in other words, are you looking at issues with Lake Superior or beyond, or how many places do you have to go to gather information to take back to the federal task force on this?
You know, I don't think it's been really defined. Our first meeting is on December 10th, and there are certainly quite a number of governors on the board, and so we'll be hearing what our priorities for their states. But being the only one from Minnesota and the only tribal official from the lower 48, it really is how do we improve the systems at the federal level and interact with the local government better and plan for the future rather than react to disaster.
Karen, early in his administration, President Obama said he promised that tribal nations would have a stronger voice in Washington. Has he kept that promise, and how so?
You know, I think there's pretty wide support of the notion of President Obama being the best president for tribal affairs since Nixon, ironically enough. Nixon was known to be the president that took the most land into trust. He has mandated consultation. We have opportunities on a regular basis to interact with all of the federal departments in their rulemaking as it applies to tribes. They have regular interactions for us. They have advisory boards on tribal affairs. They have tribal liaisons. And they have events like the Tribal Nations Summit where we get to interact directly with his cabinet members.
So you feel he's not only listening, but he's moving on issues?
We've seen great progress. Of course, you know, much like any other area of government, it's always a work in progress. But he has delivered on a lot of the things that were important for tribes, and for that we're grateful.
We do want to bring you back to a local issue because we recently saw in the paper that there has been an appeal of a court decision on the revenue sharing issue with the city of Duluth. Do you want to tell us why that decision was appealed?
I think it was appealed mostly for the purpose of preserving the band's options while we explore whether or not there's any other settlement opportunities available. There was a timeline attached to it. If we didn't do it by the middle of November, you waived your right to do it at all. And when you are negotiating a very complex set of agreements like that, you want to make sure all of your options are preserved as you look at all of the opportunities that might be available to put it to bed.
Does the band have monies set aside aside that would pay the city of Duluth should the outcome not be in your favor?
We're really looking at the period just from 2009 to 2011, and we have had those funds set aside since 2009.
Are we talking about 10 million here?
I believe, I'm sorry,
Somewhere in there.
it's a little more than
Little
that,
more
but
than
not
that?
too much, yeah.
Okay.
And then, can you comment on your working relationship with the city, especially now you're working on this task force? You know, the city had the flooding issues and whatnot, and so you're going to have to be working with Duluth officials, regional officials, and such. How is that relationship?
Well, I would hope some emotional and professional maturity would be at play. You know, it's a neat opportunity for the region. I'm a citizen of the state. I'm a citizen of a county. I'm an employer of people from all of them. So, you know, if I'm needed, I'd certainly hope that they would take advantage of all of that. I don't know that it's necessarily been the band that's been obstructive and all of that. So, you know, I would hope that the needs of our citizens would come first.
Karen, were most tribal chairs from across the country at the meeting at the White House? And what did you take back from there, perhaps, that you would like to move ahead on right now?
A couple of important items. Yes, most tribal chairs were there or high-level elected officials. The administration is implementing what they call the Cobell litigation, which was for past mismanagement of individual Indian funds. And as a part of that federal court case, the settlement, they will be piloting a project called the Land Buyback Program, where there's multiple heirs to a parcel so nobody can use the land, and they'll buy out their interest so that it can become usable for the tribe again. So they let us know how that process is going to be working, and we're anxious to do that because Fond du Lac has quite a bit of parcels that are unusable because there's just too many heirs to it.
One more thing, Fond du Lac's Black Bear Casino is now going to be the title sponsor for the John Bear Grease Sled Dog
That's
Marathon. So what led to that, and what are your expectations for that?
You know, we know the race was having a tough time, and it is awfully tied to a lot of our history here. We have a band member who's a regular in it. It was a little bit of an opportunity to give back to a local nonprofit, contribute to the tourism economy, and it was a great cultural fit to boot. So we think it'll be kind of nifty, and it'll be fun to see the dogs around the parking lot over at Black Bear.
Yeah.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. Karen
Great.
Diver, Tribal Chair, Fond du Lac, thank you very kindly for being here.
Yes, thank you. We know
Thank
you
you.
have a very busy schedule. We appreciate you taking time.
Appreciate your
Thanks.
time. Thank you.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
Mayor Fido left the courthouse with a smile on his face, completely cleared of the charges against him and confident that his victory in court was the end of the toughest political battle of his career.
You know, we have finally finished the election of 1987.
Both the mayor and his lawyer said they expected the jury to return the not guilty verdict.
I was pleased, obviously. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, as you count them through, you hear the words not guilty, and, you know, you count one more, and one more, and one more, until there are no more.
I've seen the effects that this trial has had on these people, and it's been substantial, and it's been amazing that John Fido and Lori Fido have been able to withstand the pressure. I don't know of anyone else who could withstand the pressure and still successfully operate. So,
Right now, the mayor just wants to get back to work and put the case behind him.
We've got a lot of projects that we've been working on that, you know, we can devote full time to and not worry about whether or not the press is going to ask us if the effect of the trial is making any difference on how aggressive we are.
They're getting pretty excited at the locally laid egg farm in Renshaw for From more than 15,000 entries across the country, they have made it to the Final Four in the Intuit Small Business Big Game Contest. The winning business will get a free 30-second commercial broadcast during the Super Bowl. To win, Locally Laid needs the support of thousands around the region, and they are pulling out all the stops.
Poultry athletes, this is fantastic! Local food, we're going national. You girls have made the Final Four!
Joining us now is Jason Amundsen, co-owner and self-anointed head clucker at Locally Laid Egg Company. And Lucie Amundsen is co-owner and the so-called marketing chick at Locally Laid. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. It
Boy,
is a staggering honor.
Is it?
Really is.
Yeah, quite an achievement considering all the entries. Just tell us about how this all came about and what you had to do to get involved.
We work with the University of Minnesota Duluth Center for Economic Development, and a man named Kurt Walczak has been our liaison. And I work with him. We do financial projections. We really intimately work together. And he turned his computer to me one day and he said, "Look at this contest. You guys might do pretty well at this." And that's where it all began.
Really?
Yeah.
So then you went on and applied to join the contest, or how did this happen?
Well, actually, I work on this at 4 in the morning before I go to my other job.
Okay.
And it was easy. All I had to do was kind of write an essay of our story of how we became a business and provide a photo. And that was easy because, you know, Jason was laid off and he said, I have a plan. I see a niche in the marketplace, to which I said, is there another plan? Because this is such an enormous undertaking.
So what does free-range egg farming mean? What is that?
Well, free range is actually a misnomer. In the industry, it connotates something that really isn't there. We'd like to focus on the term pasture-raised, meaning that our hens are actively foraging and exercising on pasture and grass. The difference is that we call our hens poultry athletes, meaning they run around and exercise. And they're able to absorb nutrition from the land that is not available from eggs sold in most stores.
Yeah. Now it looks like here you've got quite a flock. How many birds might you have?
We have about 2,500 in Renshaw.
Okay.
All named Lola.
All named Lola.
And all layers?
Yes.
Okay. Now I suspect there might be several people in our audience tonight who, you know, as a hobby farm, raise chickens, including one of my daughters. And she says this time of the year, her hens are molting and they are doing less laying of eggs. Is there a problem there? What might that be?
Generally speaking, what happens, Denny, is as a bird ages, her ability to produce eggs diminishes. Absolutely. So really what it comes down to is the age of the bird, the weather is a big factor. As it gets colder, it makes it harder for chickens to lay eggs. And of course, the obvious thing is the breed. Some breeds of birds are just simply better at laying eggs.
Okay. Do all birds molt?
Yes, they all molt.
Okay.
And they
It doesn't mean they're ill.
No. It just means they're losing their plumage, losing their feathers.
Sure.
And the feathers will grow back.
Okay.
What makes your eggs different?
Oh, well, our eggs are different because our girls are out on pasture and they're eating bugs and grass and things that are natural to their diet. They also eat non-GMO corn, which is locally sourced for us. And because of that, they're these athletic birds. They're healthier birds, and healthier birds give you healthier eggs. So we like to say it's not rocket science, but it is science.
Yeah. Did I read where there's less cholesterol in the eggs?
Well, a lot of studies have been done nationally on the nutritive value of pasture-raised eggs. There's two components to it. First is because we have hens that are moving around as opposed to birds that are in confinement, it makes sense that you're going to get a more nutritious egg. But the other component of it, Denny, is because our girls actively forage and exercise on pasture, that nutrition is brought into the egg. And no factory egg can replicate that.
Okay.
Let's get back to the contest now. You're in the top 4, and if you make it, you get a Super Bowl ad that's worth what? How much to you? I guess monetarily or otherwise.
Millions.
Right. It's certainly worth just a superlative amount. We don't know a number, and Intuit would certainly be able to provide that if we needed one, but we don't know.
Yeah.
And first of all, what gave you the leg up, do you think, in the competition, and now what does it take to win it?
Geez, I'd like to say it's because we have a mission-based product. We really want. We care about sustainable agriculture. We care about the environment. We plant a tree for every delivery that we make to offset our carbon footprint. And I think that message has resonated with people. We like to say a vote for Lola, which is an acronym for locally laid, and also it's kind of this sassy name. Yeah. A vote for Lola is a vote for sustainable agriculture everywhere. And I like to think that people are buying into this and are excited. We're also this local company, and Duluthians and our region and all of Minnesota, I feel a momentum, and it's super exciting.
And we're finding more and more people are raising product locally here and offering them to a lot of restaurants, colleges. Who are your customers?
Well, one of our showcase customers, and all of our customers have been terrific in this, is the Duluth Grill.
Oh, yeah.
And the Duluth Grill was actually the first check we ever received was from the Duluth Grill. We use QuickBooks for our accounting software, and when you have a small business, especially when you're starting, you get really good in the QuickBooks function of writing checks. It's like you know how to write checks. And then Duluth Grill, they gave us our first check when we produced eggs, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have no idea how to record a deposit. I mean, it was just like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
In fact, the Duluth Grill has been wonderful. And they've been a centerpiece in our efforts at winning this contest. In fact, we have these shirts that are Vote Lola.
Those are great.
Yeah, and these are done by our graphic artist, Matt Olin. And Matt, in so many ways in this is Lola, because he really designed this sassy chicken.
So explain the voting process and what people need to do to help you along on this venture.
Well, one nice thing is that we have an easy website to remember. It's votelola.com. People go every day and they click. There's a little yellow button. And they can click every day. There's no login required. You're not giving out a lot of personal information. It takes 2 seconds. So people can do that every day now through December 1st.
With 4 finalists, including yourselves, competition must be fierce.
It is.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you try not to focus on it too much.
Yes.
And I think what we're focused on more than anything else is we want to run the best game we can. And we are putting our blinders on when it comes to the competition. And that said, we're very cognizant of the fact that this is a national competition and we're the only Midwestern entry. And as a result, I think there's some significant Minnesota and Midwestern pride on the line.
Yeah. Now, should you win the ability to have a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl, will a new commercial be, or a crew come over and film a new commercial for you?
Oh, well, we don't. Actually, there is a firm already picked out by Intuit, and we don't have a lot of creative control over it. That's what the rules say. But we're hoping that they'll respect our brand. We like Lola is a sassy chicken,
come out and
but
dress up your birds, huh?
she has a lot of pluck.
Can you tell me they are creating a commercial
so
regardless?
Exactly, Pamela.
Okay.
So what's going on is, since we're very fortunate to be in the Final Four, and what Intuit has told us is that any company in the Final Four will have a professionally made Super Bowl equivalent commercial, but only one of those ads will actually run during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so critical that people visit votelola.com. We need people voting every day between now and the 1st of December.
Well,
Can the general public come to your place and buy eggs?
No, they're available at the Whole Foods Co-op in Duluth.
All right. So there are outlets.
Absolutely, and a couple Super Ones.
Okay, sure.
all right. Well, that's all the time we have, but we wish you luck.
Oh, thank you.
And
The
contest sounds like fun regardless. Of
All the best.
how the outcome.
Well, follow us on Facebook, and you can see what happens.
Say hi to Lola.
All
All
right.
right, thank
all
you.
right. Thanks
Thank
much.
you
Thanks
so
for
much,
coming in.
Denny. Thank you. This is really appreciated.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's time now for the week's top business stories from Business North. OSHA has cited White Cedar Shingles of Superior for 9 safety violations in connection with a fatal accident on May 21st. A worker died at the company's manufacturing plant while servicing machinery that had not been locked out to prevent an unexpected startup. OSHA said the company is a repeat offender, having been cited for 10 safety violations since 2010, including the failure to train workers. The Federal Safety Agency has placed the company in its severe violator enforcement program and has proposed a fine exceeding $150,000.
Legislation that could assist 2 area aircraft manufacturers and a large number of their local vendors has been approved by Congress. The new law is designed to cut red tape for small airplane makers like Cirrus Aviation in Duluth and Kestrel Aircraft in Superior. The Small Airplane Revitalization Act directs the Federal Aviation Administration to remove barriers to investing in new designs and help the region's aviation sector grow and succeed. The legislation is an important step in the right direction, according to Dale Klappmeyer, co-founder and CEO of Cirrus Aircraft.
St. Louis County Board Commissioners have approved the sale of Chris Jensen Health and Rehabilitation Center in Duluth for $2.3 million. The buyer, Health Dimensions Group, has operated the facility since 2009 and invested $575,000 in physical improvements. HDG is considering expanding services, including renovating the main facility and adding senior housing units. More than 250 people work there. The sale is expected to close by March 31st of next year. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
And if you have a comment on our show, give us a call. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message or send an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. And don't forget to visit the WDSE website. You can get the latest program updates, news about your favorite PBS shows, and information about our station. Well, Danny, great to work with you again, as always.
You've been here 2 weeks. It's always nice to have you on the program.
Yep.
Hope we can do this again.
Well, as much as I've enjoyed my Friday nights with you, good to see Julie coming back next week,
Next
isn't
week
it?
she'll be here.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, for Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Pamela Fish. Have a great weekend. Good night.